Hi, guys. It is Oboitshepo here. I pray that we are all blessed and that we are all good. Um, I just wanted to come on here quickly and share pretty much like the second part of a word that I released a few days ago. And this word was specifically dealing with Saul's issue. I remember sharing on that word that as I was reading the story about how Saul was found and appointed king, it just really blew my mind when I realized that Saul received so much confirmation. Um, he was invited to the feast with Samuel. He was anointed with oil. Even after he left, he encountered the Holy Spirit. He was prophesying. All the signs that Samuel said he will find, he found. And still, when it came to the time where he was supposed to be anointed in front of everyone, he was hiding. That's what the word says. He hid away. And I remember also mentioning how at that very moment I began to even relate with Saul. I began to relate with Saul, and it was quite a funny moment. I don't know, I feel like out of all the people in the word, Saul is the last person anyone wants to relate to. But I actually began to relate with him. I began to relate with just that condition that so many of us suffer from, which is self consciousness, right? He was overly self conscious. So even though the Lord spoke these words over his life, even though the Lord chose him, even though the Lord sought after him and chose him, when it came for him to stand up in front of the people and publicly receive what he knows is already his, he decided to hide. In fact, even further, the word says that after this, I guess, coronation, right? Some people actually were mad at the fact that Saul was appointed king. And the word specifically says that he heard the words of just disagreement, right? And he kept silent. He just kept it to himself. And it's so easy for us to read that and just be like, oh, okay, cool. But it's so significant because basically the word is trying to show us the state in which Saul was. So many of us who are self-conscious, we hear what people say about us and we keep it. We might not speak against it, we might not defend ourselves, but we harbor it, right? So I'm looking at this and I'm for the first time actually seeing Saul as a human being. I'm seeing Saul as an insecure, self-conscious person. And I'm seeing him as myself, right? Because so many of us suffer from certain insecurities. So many of us suffer from self-consciousness. And it's getting in the way of the very gift and the very word that the Lord has already spoken over your life, right? So I just want us to quickly read First Samuel 15. First Samuel 15. And this is when um, Samuel gets back, right? He finally arrives and he finds that Samuel arrives and he finds that Saul has already performed the sacrifice. And he asks Saul, why didn't you wait for me? What have you done? Why have you disobeyed the Lord? And Saul's response is, I have obeyed the Lord. This is verse 20. He says, I have obeyed the Lord. I have gone on the mission on which the Lord sent me, and I have brought back Agag and the king of Amalek, and I have completely destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took some of the spoil and sheep and oxen, the best of the things that were to be totally destroyed to sacrifice to the Lord your God at Gilgal, right? So that part just stood out for me once again as I read it, that here comes Samuel asking him, why did you disobey the instruction that the Lord gave you. And he says, no, I fulfilled the instruction. I did what God told me to do, but the people, but the people. Side note, imagine how different the story would have turned out if Saul just said no. If Saul exercised his authority as king and just said no. So many of us, our issue is that we are people pleasers. Our self-consciousness, even our insecurities have turned us into self-conscious people who unknowingly aim to please, even when it is detrimental to us, even when it's detrimental to our peace, um, our spirits, our promises, our purity, um, our morals. We struggle to just say no. And this is something actually that I was speaking to myself about. I'm coming on to share this with you guys because I do believe that it will definitely help someone. But this is genuinely something that the Lord is actually disciplining me on right now as I'm going through the book of First Samuel. That it's it's almost like the Lord is saying, I get it. I get that you care about people. I get that you want to be liked, but sometimes you will actually need to hurt people's feelings in order to obey the Lord. And not because you're hurting people's feelings deliberately, but sometimes people will be hurt. They won't be comfortable with your no. um the Israelites got there and they saw the spoils, they saw the sheep, they saw the oxen. I think they even saw the silver. They saw so much. And the one who got the word was Saul. Saul received the word from God. And if Saul, as the king, just said no, you have the authority and the power to just say no. No to that interaction, no to that phone call, no to whatever people are requesting of you, no to wasting and spending your time in certain situations, no to giving of yourself to the point where it's actually detrimental to you, detrimental to your promise, detrimental to the growth of your walk with the Lord. And yet, because we are people pleasers, we fail to do so. And we see how that landed, what that landed Saul into. It left him in lack. It left him wanting. It left him having self-sabotaged the very promise that was his. The very promise that was his. What stands out for me is when Saul says to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the command of the Lord and your words, because I feared the people and I obeyed their voice. That's what Saul says. I have disobeyed the Lord because I feared the people. I feared them and I listened to their voice. So many of us, our self-consciousness and our need to please our friends and our family has only led us into disobeying the voice of God and actually hearkening to the opinions and the voices of others, our friends, our family, sometimes even strangers. Sometimes, guys, I've been in experiences, right, where my very own friends who might not be Christians tell me straight up that this thing of waiting for this certain type of husband and whatever the case may be, that just doesn't make sense. Like, you, in fact, people have even said to me, Wena, you're not taking God seriously. How can God do that? You know? And they're not even speaking from a place of malice. They're speaking from a place of lack of knowledge. But it's so easy to to just succumb to the words that people speak over your life. Some people will say to you, how are you leaving that job? God is not going to take care of you. What do you mean the Lord has told you to be in full-time ministry? That's impossible. Once again, just lack of knowledge. Some of us have dropped the promises that the Lord has gifted us simply because we have hearkened to the voice of those who lack knowledge, lack faith, lack experience, who are not in your shoes. Who are not in your shoes. Something I also began just to think on is the very same matter we are speaking about, or the matter we spoke about in the last word, about how Saul said the people began to leave, and that is why I had to hurry up and do what I think or I thought I was supposed to do. And I just thought, what if Saul just allowed people to leave? What if Saul just allowed people to maybe dislike him or to reject him or just to choose something else other than him? What if Saul just allowed people to leave, right? Because sometimes it's the people leaving that is actually in the plan of God. We see it in this very book of First Samuel, where it constantly says twice in one book, right, that the Lord brought down an evil tormenting spirit over Saul in order to attack David and try and kill David and just dislike David. It was the Lord who allowed it. It was the Lord who brought down the evil spirit over Saul. So many of us are in situations where people have turned their back on you. They've believed lies about you. They've rejected you. They are totally seeing a side of you that is not even there, right? And you are crying. You are so confused. In fact, you are saying to the Lord, I rebuke each and every plan the enemy has over my life. And in fact, it's not the plan of the enemy. The enemy has nothing to do with this. Instead, the Lord has allowed it. The Lord has actually brought down that tormenting evil spirit over people, has allowed for that spirit to actually interfere in the way people receive you. Just like Saul was disrupted in the way he received David, right? It actually says here in chapter 19, verse 7 to 10, it says, so Jonathan called David and told him all these things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence, serving him as previously. So this is the second time. Then there was a war again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines and defeated them with a great slaughter, and they fled before him. So David's doing everything right. You think you've done everything right. Chances are you've done everything right. But listen to what the word says. Then an evil spirit from the Lord came on Saul as he was sitting in his house with his spear in his hand, and David was playing the harp with his hand, and Saul tried to pin David to the wall with the spear, but David escaped. So I remember just sitting on my bed yesterday, just thinking, Lord, I wish when it was when I had the opportunity, or the many times I had the opportunity to say no, I wish I just said no. I wish that all the times, right, I saw people reject me and walk away from me and basically try to attack me, even though I was doing everything right. I wish I just allowed it. Instead of feeling like I need to defend myself, instead of feeling like I need to mope over it and mourn, I wish I just allowed it. Because little did I know that it was of God. Little did I know that you actually brought down that very spirit over certain people. You maybe even hardened their hearts against me. Little did I know. Little did I know. But now the issue is that we are so self-conscious. We so badly want people to be on our side. We so badly want people to understand us and say yes and clap hands for us, that we are quick to listen to them instead of just staying on track and listening to the voice and the instruction of God. And that is what the Lord is just disciplining me on right now, lovingly disciplining me on, giving us the strength, giving me the strength to just say no. No, I can't participate in that. No, I can't do this. Thank you for the opportunity, but I cannot. No. Just say no. In fact, yesterday, I actually made that my status. Just say no. Just say no. Your job is not to seek for the approval of man, but to make sure that you have the approval of God. And I pray that that helps you today. Remember that some people's feelings will actually need to get hurt. Maybe not deliberately, but some people's feelings will actually need to get hurt. It's just so you can obey the voice of the Lord. It's okay to say no. And it's okay to say no because you received the word, not them. Bless you guys. Bye-bye.